Hey, deserving listeners, 90-Day Fiancé, let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Remember that since this is a psychology YouTube channel, everything that we get into may contain triggering material. So watch with care, talk with your therapist. Let's watch.
Una cosa, eso es lo que vamos a hacer.
A veces yo cambio mi mente primero.
No, así no.
No puedo cambiar mi mente.
And that's why you don't bring that up in the way that Johan did. Johan's like, well, originally you said you were going to do this. And then she says, well, I changed my mind. Because that is an appropriate response to the verbatim statement that he made. He's saying, well, you originally wanted to do this. And she's like, well, I changed my mind. And he's like, well, you can't do that. And she's like, wait, I can't change my mind? So verbatim, she's right. Of course, she can change her mind. She can change. But what he should be highlighting is that his life is in the balance, that he was hoping and that this is his dream and that she promised him and he's hurt by that and that he's involved. If he inserts himself in it, it gives her a chance at least to have some empathy. But the way that he brings it up is way too passive, People do this a lot, and they don't realize most passive people have no idea that they're being passive. They completely think, I totally told them that I wanted X, Y, and Z. And when you actually play the tape back, you're like, no, you didn't. It'd be something like you and your partner are divvying up the chores around the house, and your partner agreed to paint the bedroom walls or something. And your parents are coming in from out of town, and you want your house to look as best as possible. You're really anxious. You're worried your parents are going to judge you for having a crappy looking house, and you think if you have a nicely painted bedroom that it'll stave off that judgment. And so you have a lot of anxiety about it, and you really want that bedroom to be painted. There's a lot of emotions involved. And your partner agreed that, or said that they would paint the bedroom within a certain amount of time, and it hasn't happened yet. So what's happening for you is you really need your partner to paint the bedroom. You have a lot of not only worries about your parents, a lot of anxiety about them coming, but also you just kind of want a partner to be dependable. You feel like you've done your part of the big chores around the house, and you want some reciprocity, some balance there. So you're worried that you're being kind of used or you're being treated like a doormat. And so you want to communicate all of that. But instead of communicating all that, you say something like, hey, I thought you said you were going to paint the bedroom last month. What happened? And your partner's like, oh, yeah, well, I went to the Home Depot and I got the wrong paint. And so I don't know, I just haven't been back yet. And then you say, oh, well, are you going to get to that at some point? And your partner's like, yeah, totally. I'll get to it. As soon as I get some free time, I'll definitely get to it. And then you walk away and you're hurt and you're upset. And you're like, someone comes to you later and you're like, why are you upset? It's like, well, my partner said that they were going to paint the bed. They promised me they were going to paint the bedroom. And I keep asking them to do it and they keep not doing it. And meanwhile, I'm doing all these chores. Okay. So I hope you understand the difference there. The narrative to the passive person is they absolutely communicated their deepest fears and all their wants and wishes and all their feelings. But they didn't. All they did was ask a question. And verbatim-wise, it was just a curiosity. I thought you were going to paint the bedroom last month. And the partner's like, oh, yeah, I was. But then, this thing happened. And yeah, I plan on getting around to it. And meanwhile, the partner is completely unaware that their partner wants them to paint it, that they have this worry about the parents coming, that they have this concern about the balance. All that is completely lost on the partner. And the passive person holds tremendous anger because of their interpretation. And sometimes with these passive people, they have to be helped to feel safe enough to be more direct. It's hard though. Trying to teach a passive person to be direct is one of the hardest things I've ever done in therapy. It is one of the, people have so much fear about being direct, but it's so much worse to be indirect. It is such a pain in the ass to live a life where you're trying to get your needs met. It's like going to a restaurant and they give you a menu and you sit down and the waiter comes over and says, what would you like to order? And you just sort of say, well, I was hoping that you would just kind of read my mind. Could you just read my mind? And the waiter's just like, well, I can't read your, it puts other people in a very difficult situation. And the person at the restaurant just goes hungry, and the partner with the family coming has a crappy looking bedroom. I mean, that's what happens to passive people, is their life slowly falls apart while they believe they're communicating, but they're not at all, or very little or something. So I wonder if that's what we're seeing with Johan. It's not Johan's fault that he's being bulldozed, but he could play a minor role in this. We saw this also with Eve and Muhammad. Eve seemed to be saying a lot of passive things as well. So I don't know if that's what we're seeing, but let's continue watching.
Tú sabes lo que yo quiero, lo que yo te di.
Mi amor, tú no eres estúpido.
No.
Escúchame.
Okay, so that was more direct. Not as direct as I would hope that he would say. I'd hope he'd really be like, so that's funny that he even he resorts to even passively referring to what he wants. He can't say what he wants. He says, you know what I want. Instead of saying, let me retell you what I want. He says, you know what I want, hoping that she'll just intuit, and she does. But then she's saying stupid. Let's rewind that.
Tú dijiste una cosa, eso es lo que vamos a hacer.
A veces yo cambio mi mente primero.
No, así no.
¿No puedo cambiar mi mente?
Tú sabes lo que yo quiero, lo que yo te di.
Mi amor, tú no eres estúpido.
No.
Escúchame.
Yikes. So, again, all she has to do is say, love of my life, husband, Johan, I could see how this is really hard, and I'm sorry, but I really want this. And again, I'll work with you on this, and maybe we'll compromise, but I really, really want to live in Dominican Republic, at least for longer than a year, because I don't want to go back. It's just so hard. You plead, you tell how you feel, you tell your situation. Maybe that would inspire Johan to be like, well, bummer, but okay. Instead of just like, yeah, this is what's happening right now. And then he very, very mildly pushes back in a very nice, very calm way. I mean, just think about how someone like Andre would react in a situation like this. Andre and Elizabeth. Andre would already be just screaming and using the F word every other word. I mean, no joke, right? He'd just be completely flipping out. But Johan's just calmly, like, well, this is not what we agreed upon. And then she says, you're not stupid, which I think is, you're being stupid. Stop being stupid. I mean, am I wrong about that? So we're getting into verbal abuse, emotional abuse right now? Yikes.
Mi casa, $4,000 por mes. Solo por la casa, sin comida, sin carro. Necesito insurance por todo. Yo pagar $4,000.
In New York City. I don't know if she suffers from this syndrome, but I've met people from New York City who are basically born and raised, who literally have no knowledge of anywhere outside of New York City. It's weird. It's almost like meeting someone from a small town that's never been out of their small town, even though it's a very large cosmopolitan town, right? But they talk about New York City like it's the only place in the United States. It is the smallest dot on a map. The United States is a vast country. If you've ever driven across the United States, you know this. I've driven across the United States a couple times, and most of the United States is farmland. But anyway, there's a lot of towns, there's a lot of cities, there's a lot of suburbs, there's a lot of suburbs, you know what I mean? There's a lot of places to live that aren't as expensive as $4,000 a month. So, okay, fine, you don't want to live in New York City. I'm sure he's thinking, well, how about we just live in another town that doesn't charge that much for rent? How about that? But the fact that he's like, you're not stupid, I don't know, but it sounds like she's calling him stupid, that you're acting stupid in this moment. Yeesh.
Sola por mi cuarto. No es posible. Tú no entiendes. No es posible.
So she starts to raise her voice, basically calling him stupid. and we see him shut down. So I do think we're seeing that dynamic of a bulldozer and a passive person.
Yo pagar $4,000 solo por mi cuarto. No es posible. Tú no entiendes. No es posible.
It's not possible. It's not possible. It's possible. I'm just going to take a guess and say that it's possible that they live in the United States in another place that doesn't charge $4,000 a month and they can make it work. But it's the tone of her voice, to the talking down to him, belittling him. You know, don't be stupid. And she's splaining to him. I'm just going to take a guess and say that he understands the concept of budgeting, of rent, of income, you know, or at the very least, he's like, again, I'm pretty sure he understands that, but he's probably thinking, okay, sure, I don't know all the ins and outs of the details of what it's like in the United States, but I've seen other people do it, and I believe I can do it too. I think that's a rational thought. If they go to the States, he could fail. I don't know, but when is the collaboration going to happen? When is she needs to apologize greatly, at the very least. If she's going to bulldoze him, not great, but she should at least apologize and be like, I am sorry. I completely pulled the rug out from underneath you. I've completely upended your life at this point, and I'm just sorry. I'm sorry that I changed my mind, and I'm imposing this on you. She should be, instead she's putting him down and making him feel stupid. Yeesh.
Whether or not Johan understands this is where we're living. Because he can't go to the United States without me, and if I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
Oh, privilege. Oh. Big Ed, anyone? I have all the power, and he has none, politically. And I'm going to get my way because I'm the gatekeeper. I'm the one that holds all the power in this relationship because I'm a citizen of the United States and he is not. And I'm going to use that as a weapon over him. Just think about that if your spouse said that to you. If your spouse said something like that. Like, what's a more common scenario? Like, you come into an inheritance. Your partner comes into an inheritance of $500,000 or something, and you have student debts, you have student loan debt, or you have a second mortgage or something. You've been really struggling as a family, and you work 2 jobs a week to pay off this stuff, and finally your partner gets this inheritance, and you're just like, oh, thank God, now we can maybe pay off some of those bills, and I can actually maybe quit one of my jobs. And your partner's like, well, no, because I don't feel like it, and it doesn't serve me, so tough beans. And I think this isn't true. I guess maybe if you weren't technically married and you were living together in a long-term relationship, that would be more, I think, relevant, because if you're married, I think you share that money just legally anyway. But don't quote me on that. I'm not a person. But let's just say that somehow your partner can withhold that money from you, and they're just like, well, I have all the cards. So in order for me to pay off a little bit of your student loans, I need you to do all the chores in the house or something like that. I mean, it's not that far, but it's akin to that. It's pretty bad. I have all the power because of my U.S. citizenship, and he has zero power, so I don't even need to have a conversation with him. I mean, just imagine having that point of view. I have all the power, and thus I don't even have to have a conversation with him. I just have to inform him this is how it is. Sometimes I'm embarrassed to be an American. This is one of those moments.
Mi cuarto. No es posible. Tú no entiendes. No es posible.
Whether or not Johan understands this is where we're living. Because he can't go to the United States without me, and if I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
aquí es mejor. So tu sueño no es verdad.
Okay, well, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. And she's like, but she's still infantilizing him. You have a dream, fine, but your dream is not real. You're a naive little child and you know nothing. And I'm going to tell you how it is, and it doesn't matter anyway because I have all the power. So, tough beans. It's like the way you talk to a kid. A kid is like, I want to live in an igloo. Or I don't know why that popped in my head. Or I want you to buy me a car. I'm 10. I'm a good driver or something. And you're just like, and the kid's like, it's always been my dream to have a Toyota Corolla. And the mom's like, well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to squash your dreams because you're not old enough to have a car yet. And I can't really afford it anyway. But even if I could, I wouldn't buy you a car. Your dream is not real. So sorry, kid. That's the way she's talking to him. This is episode 1 in this season. I'm already getting, what am I getting? I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe he's a jerk face and he deserves this. I don't know. I'll just wait and see. But, oh my God. Ugh.
Sueño americano no es real.
To you, the American dream is not real to you. Fine. Whatever was given to you as the American dream, you figured out it's not real. Fine. But for some people, it literally is true compared to where they're living. I don't know his situation, but for many people, they'll be like, look, I'll take your bad version of the American dream over what I have. Or at least give me the chance, give me the reins. You know, for a lot of people, they have ambitions. Most people, you know, they want to be self-sufficient. They want to be paid for their work. They want to succeed. They want to grow. They want to build security, and they have energy. They have power. They have knowledge. They have oomph. They have gumption to make it happen. But the economy in their area completely negates the opportunity for that being manifested. They work and work and work, and there's just no opportunity. They can't get off the ground because of the economy in the area, or because of oppression or something, political strife, war. And in the United States, it's more likely, not entirely of course, but more likely that the stability is there such that they'll be able to move forward, that they'll have more power over their destiny. And even though for many Americans, they look at the American dream of, because it's what is the American dream? But the way it was always kind of told to me when I was a kid is that if you put in the effort, you will get the benefits, and you will be able to build a better life for your kids than the life that you had. If you work hard, if you play your cards right, and you put in the effort, and you don't commit any crimes, and you avoid addiction or whatever, you do the right thing, and you please your boss. Another part of the American dream was that you wouldn't get fired if you did a good job. You wouldn't get laid off. Of course, that has completely changed in today's economy. But back in the day, like my dad's generation, he worked at Boeing for over 40 years. That was one of his, it was basically his first real job as a young person in his early 20s. And he worked there until he retired in his, around the age of 70 or so. And then he continued doing contract work after that. And my older brother followed into my dad's footsteps. He's also worked at Boeing forever. And so that's the American dream is, you get that job and you work up the ranks, you build your pension, and you get to provide for your family, and you retire and you go fishing on the weekends, and that's the American dream. And yeah, for a lot of people, and the American dream was never for the oppressed. It was never for people of color. It was never for gay people. It was always for, and it wasn't even really for women, right? It was just for white men, white Protestant men, and occasionally Japanese American men like my dad. Anyway, so yeah, is the American dream dead? Is it a false notion? Yeah. But for some people, even the crappiest version of the American lifestyle is a dream to them, is a massive step forward. They have a greater power over their life, greater power over their destiny. If they put in the effort, there's a good chance that they will be repaid, that they can work their way up, And I think that's what he wants to do. And that was the agreement. And she wants to change her mind. Fine. Have a conversation. Don't just overpower like a like a typical colonializer. All right, well, I want to thank if you've liked this video or any of my videos, or subscribed or commented below. That helps the algorithm, I believe, but, only if you care to. And please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.